Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to another great episode of the Film Review. Movies, music, culture, and whatever else comes to mind. We are the husband-wife team. I'm Crazy Dee.
Tracey.
Who review culture in film. All right, so I think we're on 15 or 16 of this right here.
Okay.
So today we have a very special. Let me adjust this just a little bit more so you can see my beautiful wife there. Let's turn this around so you can see the black ice. That's right. I got my own things here. Black ice. All right, so listen. This is a special episode because we're reviewing quite a few films and talking about a new film that's going to be coming out that we just saw the previews for in the movie. So we're going to be reviewing Night School, Venom, and Nappily Ever After, Quincy, and we're going to be talking about the new Spiderman movie that is coming out, but it's coming out in cartoon form. It's called Spiderman Into the Spiderverse. That's right. So let's get started. We went to go see Night School. Now, a couple of weeks ago, there was drama brewing between comedians, all starting on one of the interview talk shows from Atlanta, and it was just controversy between comedians. But what people seem to have lacked to have come to and actually admit was that beef was squashed at the Daytime Emmys. Wasn't that
at the Emmy Awards.
At the Emmy Awards, that's right. And where not only did Cat Williams take one home, but so did Tiffany Haddish. Right, and that was squashed there. We won't talk about the 103 and all that and Atlanta and the situation that happened there because we just won't. But we're going to talk about Night School. Also within the controversy, they were talking about how Tiffany Haddish always seems to appear to play a hoish type character ever since Girls Trip or Ladies Trip. That's the name of the film, right?
Yeah, Girls Trip.
Girls Trip. And what most people don't seem to realize, to me, it's just a character that she's playing. That was her stand-up. That's her stick. And then she pulls that out, and some people complained about her always talking about white men, which that's not necessarily true, because her stand-up was geared towards any man who is hot, so to speak.
Sometimes I wonder if people are mentally challenged because they can't tell the difference between entertainment and real life, realism. I mean, she's a comedian actress, just like all other comedians and actresses. But they want her to. She has to act a certain way and say the right things, and as if she's some type of like a robot. So instead of just letting her be her, like all of the other actresses and comedians, they want to put Tiffany Haddish like on some type of like she has to be the
say all and do all for everyone
for black people,
and that can't be.
I mean, let her be her. I think people are so busy nitpicking other people instead of focusing on themselves and what's going on in their life, because they can tell you about what this person and that person need to change, and they could go on social media and pick these different entertainers apart, right? So they spending more time on social media instead of spending time with friends and family, So critiquing people. So it's just like it's turning into a world of nothing but critics.
And people who are complaining and talking about
Right.
who is a coon and who's not a coon.
Right.
We know who the coons are
Right.
because they actually push and act in the opposite or against the advancement of black people.
Right.
But an entertainer is not someone who some have opinions, others don't. But to say that she's a coon or a coonette because of how she acts in a film,
she's acting
in a film, that's definitely wrong. I can tell you, anyone who is in the entertainment business
right.
and wants to make it,
Right.
if you're not willing to, every time you play a role, if you believe that people are going to believe that you are that person,
Right.
because they watched you play that role,
Right.
then you don't need to be in the entertainment business,
Right.
and you won't succeed in the entertainment business, okay, because it's entertainment. So all of this controversy swirled around the film.
Right.
So, of course, my wife and I, we don't listen to what people say about people, because we understand the entertainment business. It's entertainment. And to realize, we used to see her on Def Jam Comedy back in '94. So she's been on this long track to her success. It's not like, it seemed like it happened overnight, but it didn't. She kept herself together. She kept herself looking, presentable and ready to take that leap. When the brass ring was there, she went and grabbed it and was able to roll with it. But we remember her from '94. It was the same type of comedy. She had stayed true to herself. You have to stay true to yourself and what you say, in your comedy or in your entertainment. Whatever your stick is, you stay true to it, and she has. So that coon shit is totally out the window.
It's a double standard, because I don't remember, he's no longer with us now, but I don't remember people calling Jerry Lewis an idiot or a buffoon. They knew how to separate him from his characters, from his film and from when he was on stage as a comedian. They knew how to separate Jerry Lewis from Jerry Lewis the actor, Jerry Lewis the comedian, so I mean, it's just stupid.
And instead of tearing each other down,
Right.
how about talking about the real enemy?
Right.
The people who are there to destroy black people. We get too caught up sometimes.
Right.
We get too
Well, not
caught
everybody, not all of
sometimes,
us.
not all of us, but some of us, sometimes we get too caught up in talking about how we should act.
Right.
How about talking about the way
Right.
the actual minority around the globe, the 8% and dwindling, how they should act as Europeans around the globe, how they should act.
Right.
How about talking about that? So all of this was swirling around this controversy. So we went to go see the film Night School. It's the first film where Kevin Hart's production company, his name is actually on there as his production company. His first ever film before. It's Black Code.
Right.
Anybody who remembers, I remember when Kevin Hart first came out and many different documentaries, but Black Code were the ones who were his team for a very long time. When he came out with his straight to DVD comedy specials, Black Code was there, and then when he did his first comedy specials in the theaters, you would see Black Code.
Right.
And so they stuck together all that time, and I'm sure that somewhere in there that company is still involved, but it's probably in the inner workings of Kevin Hart's company now.
Right.
So I don't know that, not my business, but Strong and Black Code has gone on and do big things.
Right.
Kevin Hart is doing big things, and they continue to do big things together, I would say. So that's a big up to Kevin Hart for that, moving on and not only becoming a work for hire player, but actually a player that can green light projects.
Right.
So we went to go see this film, and it opens up pretty good. It opens up, you see the preview, so we're not giving a spoiler here. You see the previews where he's gonna take his SAT test, and he kicks over the wastebasket and he says, haha, I'm gonna be big. So you think from the very beginning, just from that preview when you go see the film, that once that happens and years pass, I think it's like 10 years, 15 years pass, and you think that he will be in a bad situation, but Kevin Hart is rolling, it appears.
Yeah, but we're not going to tell you.
We're not going to tell you, but
Excellent.
He's rolling.
Yeah, it was funny.
And he is a #1 salesman at the job that he has. Right. And he's doing well. Could he be living above his means? Could he? Or you have to go see the film to find that out. So, a catastrophic event happens, which is the initiating event in the film.
Right.
And Kevin Hart's world falls down around him, but not to be in so much dismay to the point where he can't move. He continues to move, and he wants to go get his GED. And that's when the story kicks off, when you're introduced to the Tiffany Haddish character, who is the night school teacher, and you're introduced to the various cast of characters. This, though it is a vehicle for Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish, this is an ensemble piece. And I love ensemble pieces because I write ensemble pieces for the Black Ice Chronicle. So I love seeing ensemble pieces. They say that type of film cannot be done, and like I've said before, I love seeing the writers breaking those guidelines in script writing. So you're introducing everyone there is a well flushed out character. They're not just one dimensional. You see them in their full frame. You see them with their families, and it's a nice film.
It is, and it's hilarious from beginning to end. Like, people were just like laughing throughout the entire film, and like Dee said, like each of the characters, you know, the writing was so well, you did get to know each of the characters, and you liked each of the characters, and all of the freaking characters were hilarious, like in Night School. So he did a really good job. I mean, like this film was funnier than any of the other films that I've seen him in. Although his other films are good, but Night School is just hilarious with him and Tiffany, and just like the whole cast, just hilarious.
I think it's even more hilarious than Ride Along.
I think
the
so
Ride
too.
Along one and two, because you know Cube does his thing. But I think that this right here, it really elevates the genre because he is the genre of the comedy, the dramedy is what it is. And it really elevates. So as the character goes through, he's trying to go through night school, but he doesn't want to let his fiance know that he's in night school. So then that's another element that's built upon it. Then he meets up with someone who had a dissertation with.
So it's just
it's just
the
really,
perfect storm.
It's the perfect storm, and it's a redemptive piece. You know, it has elements of the classic Negro films where you know, there's a redemption piece in it. It's a nice reworking of using the Christian motif within the piece to tell the story. So we want to say you should go see Night School. Do not let me do a side piece here. Do you know how the different gossip magazines always talk about Chris Brown? They always talk about Chris Brown, and you wouldn't, if you only listen to what the gossip magazines say, you would know that Chris Brown has had consecutive #1 albums.
Right, back to back to back.
Consecutive #1 singles.
Yep.
You know, you would know that he was that successful as he is, that he stays in the studio.
Right.
And what is the common denominator in most of the mess up is there's a European American woman somewhere that comes to the party and disrupts the party because that's their job, because Chris is a self-made black man, right?
But this year has been like
been real quiet,
because he's kind of like, you can tell he's kind of like
he's fed up with the bull.
Yeah, he kind of, he knows, what should be around him and what shouldn't, and what to expect, and he knows that as a young black male, that they will take any little thing and they will blow it up.
Exactly, like Bill Cosby. Like what they did with Bill Cosby. And Bill Cosby, a lot of people are talking about Bill Cosby, but Bill Cosby was not convicted of rape.
Right.
He was not convicted of rape. Go back and find out what he was convicted of. I need you all to read it. Not what the media is saying, because the media is lying to you. And we just found out some information from Tariq Nasheed a couple of days ago that one of Bill Cosby's properties is sitting on oil. And they've been trying to get the property away from him for a while, and he's not selling. So what would you do? You would go back into the old playbook of the European American, and you would do something to discredit the man's character and then push him out. And also, he was also trying to buy NBC, and I found out that he was also trying to buy the Cleveland Browns. And when you get to those type of hollow institutions, if you don't have yourself together, a spotless, they can get you on something. So that's why we've talked about it on Nothing But the Facts podcast. But all I do is high five with women. We're not doing any hugging. We're not doing anything. We're not going to do anything that's misconstrued. But like I told that story about how even the high five isn't foolproof because somebody's going to try to act the fool. You know what I mean? So it's no shaking hands.
Which is weird to me, because I don't understand how anyone could have an attitude or feel uncomfortable because someone doesn't want to give them a hug.
Right, because that's showing ultimate respect to women.
Right.
I was on this, like when you watch some of my old episodes of the Black Ice Chronicles, when I'm going through the script reads, you see I was on Me Too. And Enough before Me Too and Enough became a thing. This is back in 2010, 2011. I'm writing this, and I'm finding this out because we're bringing back some classic clips to go on different places like Bop and Black Book TV, and also on Lordland TV. And I'm finding this. I'm going back through. I'm saying, wow, I'm writing this. I'm writing the point of view before the point of view was there. So doing that. So when you get back and you find that out, that is why things happen to people, because they are getting too big. And for people to believe instead of going to research. Bill Cosby was not convicted of rape, though they put the sexual predator tag on him to disgrace him. But Bill Cosby is coming through that.
Yeah, because they were saying, like, even his wife, he's guilty of having affairs, which was stupid of him, which helped build up this huge, like, snowball of a mess. But
you get it, snowball.
But the thing about it is that they didn't show you how they compared the cases. Everything was broken down really well. The one woman who goes back and forth with hair. I can't tell what she is, but then they like to throw the afro on her and then take it off or whatever.
There's memes going around saying that she looks like a man.
Yeah, but see, he had a relationship with this woman, so then they're showing, you see all of the text messages and a relationship they had over the years. You hear the phone call.
Him helping her to go through college.
Get her degrees. And so, so if anything, I mean, this man was guilty of sleeping around and having affairs. But then, for instance, and then another example like Janice Dickerson. And we're just giving you a few. And her book contradicted what she said on the stand. So then they had to withdraw that because she had to admit to lying. Because then Cosby's people are like, okay, well, we can sue you. You got on the stand and you lied, which is against the law, right? So then she apologized. She backed out of that. And then so it's just like for all of the 60 women, and then they say 60 women, but then they went through and they had to get rid of throughout so many of the damn cases.
They only took four in.
Right. So, but all you hear people saying are, it was 60 women. But it's kind of like jump on the bandwagon. Was it Tariq Nasheed that said, gave a great example of the commercials on TV, when they have the different attorneys. If you had such and such surgery and you're having such and such complications for having this mash, the mesh surgery, or if you had a stent put in or whatever type of procedure you had, call such and such law offices and we'll take care of you. We'll make you part of the class action lawsuit, right? So kind of like the same thing. They had a calling card out for Bill Cosby. If you've, interacted with Bill Cosby, and let us know. And so, I mean, it's just weird. It's just weird how it's like a lot of stuff that they threw out in the first case, which is the reason why, he won the first case, right?
Yeah, well, no, it was a mistrial.
Okay, it was a mistrial because some of the jurors didn't, mistrial. So then they decided to do it again. But then it was just a lot of fuckery, basically.
Let's just take Harvey Weinstein. Right. He is truly, by what the descriptions are saying, a violent predator. Right? Unlike Bill Cosby, he's able to fly to his different homes.
Oh yeah.
He's not under house arrest.
Right.
He's able to move around, and they're talking about striking a deal with him.
And they took Bill Cosby's passports away from him, right? So he wasn't able.
He wasn't able to travel, and he wasn't able to have functions at his house. Right. The officers would come over, and after he had an event, they talked about and said that he couldn't have those events. You can't show that you can live. His publicists were on a radio show that we were listening to, and said that. Meanwhile,
and they came with receipts too, just like Tariq Nasheed. They came with receipts and evidence, and they played a lot of stuff on this woman's radio show as well. But the one thing that comes to mind is I remember when the whole Bill Cosby situation started with the two mother and daughter attorneys, with Bloom, and All Red, who just about every black rapper or actor or whatever they're suing them, right? So on CNN, I remember specifically one of the women who accused Cosby. She said she met Cosby on the Tonight Show. She said she met him backstage because we watched the CNN special when they had like all these women who came out, who were going to sue Cosby or whatever because of what he did. This woman, out of her mouth, she said that Bill Cosby attacked her during in the dressing room, and we thought that was odd because we said, let's
go back now. This was a tonsillectomy, basically. She says that Bill Cosby
Forced.
Walked into her dressing room,
And forced.
zipped down his zip,
And forced.
and jabbed it in her mouth. This was a tonsillectomy, people. Right. Then she still got out there and on the stage and sang after having a tool in her mouth.
Right. Now, mind you, she's saying all of this is happening on the Tonight Show in a green room.
Wait a minute, this is in the 1960s?
Yeah.
Totally unheard of.
Yeah, but the thing is, anybody that knows it's like backstage at a lot of these events and stuff, come on. Now, she's in the green room, and like all of this is happening. Bill Cosby is attacking you. He's forcing himself on you in the green room. When you have all the activity, the different production staff running in and out. Okay, so then we knew, this is what years ago when we saw this on CNN. We knew that was a lie. It didn't sound right. Okay, so fast forward today. In court, the date that this woman said she performed on the Tonight Show, this woman wasn't there. Because when they showed her, I was like, well, who is she? I've never seen this woman before. She was on the Tonight Show. She performed. Okay, so this woman was never on the Tonight Show. NBC had no record of this woman ever being on the Tonight Show. So it's just like all of these lies on top of lies on top of lies.
So our main point in this and saying this is, who are we to say who are coons and coonettes except for those who act purposely against their own people? But I will say this. If you are not speaking against the European Americans who are doing the dirt and expect for them to get it before you even expect your own to get it, you might have a little coon in you. Just a little. If you're not as venomous against Weinstein as you are against Bill Cosby, and you just believe all these women Bill Cosby did it, and you are in support of them, that is a little trace of meritorious manumission, and you need to look meritorious manumission up, 1710, and some people are still under meritorious manumission, and so it's just a little meritorious manumission. So we jump to Bill because I think Chris Brown and a lot of us, a lot of black men, I knew about this way before. I went back to Jesse Jackson when the things came to Jesse Jackson. Just keep your tool in your pants.
Yeah, because Bill Cosby was guilty of having an
affair, but his wife forgave him for it.
Right.
So that's between him and his wife. A lot of women, to me, who are talking, have never been married, have never been in a relationship for a very long time, so they don't know what it is to be in a relationship with a person. And there is no, to me, there is no purity. Well, I'll leave that alone for another podcast. But I'll say this: be about prosecuting the European Americans as much as you believe that Bill Cosby did it. Let's get Harvey Weinstein. Let's not have him have a deal.
Oh, they will.
Let's not have him have a deal. Let's have him sitting in a jail cell like Bill Cosby for 3 to 10. Let's have him doing the same thing because he did exactly worse. But you know what's going to happen? Just like the Supreme Court justice that was just confirmed. Mm-hmm. Unless we are out there on the front lines actually doing something, black people are actually out there on the front lines giving it up. Some of us who are into intersectionality, they're out there, but it's not sheer enough. If we're not out there protesting and putting our bodies on the line, nothing is going to change. That's just the way it is in America. And some of us have decided to say, hey, we saw that coming. We knew that. So if he's off, Harvey Weinstein is going to get off, and Bill Cosby is sitting in jail. If you're a black person and you believe that Bill Cosby did it with all the evidence, instead of researching and finding all the evidence, you are under meritorious manumission. Period. So that goes back to Chris Brown, and then it comes back into the movie Night School, where at the end of the film, his fiance believes that he may have been fooling around, but that wasn't the case.
Right.
So we went off, but we came back around. So let's talk about Night School. What would you rate Night School?
I would have to give it a 10 because it's just hilarious and it's well written and it's just like it was just wonderful. I mean, Tiffany Haddish was just hilarious. Oh, and you remember I talked to you about her acting. Like, I'm so used to her being silly and funny. There were like some serious scenes, so I said, Tiffany Haddish, her acting is really good.
Yeah, she was on 3 levels in the movie. She had the sassy sapphire side. Yeah. Then she had the compassionate side, which she used her facial expressions. Acting is about the close-up and the facial expression.
Right.
And she did that. And then, of course, she had the delivery being the straight person who brought the laugh about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? She reversed it. She was the straight person bringing the laugh about.
Right.
And it was Kevin Hart that sold the joke.
Yeah.
But she would be the straight, and he would be the one that sold the joke. And so, a beautiful example of range and dynamic ability to act.
Yeah.
So, you say you gave it a 10?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give it a 10 also. I think it's well worth seeing. Night School. Okay.
The sun is going down. It's starting to get dark.
Yeah, it's starting to get darker. Yeah. Okay. So, the next piece that we're going to talk about, we just saw this piece.
Right.
Venom. It's a Marvel's title.
Yep.
But before it even started, we got a preview of a film that we're going to talk about. It's Spiderman Into the Spider-Universe. We're going to talk about that. I just want you to warm up because we're coming to that. But anyway, Venom. Let me tell you. This is the most entertaining Marvel film since Panther.
Right.
Since Black Panther.
Right.
It is very entertaining. It has a multicultural cast.
Right.
And so it's not so much diverse, but there is something that's concerning. So let's get this out the way first. It's not what you say, but what you put into the book. What you put into the story. Well, let's lay out the story and then I come to the concerning point. Okay, so we meet the main character. And he is a successful investigating reporter. And he is engaged to his soon-to-be wife, who is a litigating attorney.
Right.
And he is looking for, he's successful, but he's looking for that story that will take him to the next level and put him on the level to where possibly he could go national. Right? Because right now he's in New York City, San Francisco. He's in San Francisco and he's working his way up. Anybody who has watched like Mary Jane, how Mary Jane was local in Atlanta, but she finally got a chance to get to New York and be national. It's kind of like that.
Right.
So he's doing this, and he is assigned a story that not necessarily he wants to do.
Right.
And he's looking for that edge, and it just so happens that his fiance works for the office of attorneys, who actually does lawyer work for this rich guy who is sending people out of space and doing different experiments and solving and killing lawsuits by paying people off. Right. And this is the guy that he doesn't really want to interview, but he's been assigned this person. And the initiating event happens when he finds when an email comes in on his fiance's laptop,
right,
which has to do with the company. And that's where the story kicks off, right there.
Yep.
And from there, he's on top. The next thing you know, he's rock bottom. So I love the way the stories are switched around, and you get the big gloom at the beginning of the film, right after the initiating event. Instead of going through the initiating event, then the person goes through their hero's journey, and then all of a sudden something happens and they have the big gloom, and then they come from out of it and they win. And that's usually the hero's journey. This is by no stretch of imagination a hero's journey film, but they rearrange the elements of the hero's journey to make it pop, move faster, and so that's what it is. So the CGI, excellent. When it kicks off, man, put your seatbelts on, because it kicks off. It introduces you to all the characters. It lays it out. The acting. What do you think about the acting?
The acting was great. Tom Hardy did an excellent job. And the other actor, what's his name? Aziz, is it Ahmad?
Yeah, that's right. He came from off of
the HBO.
That HBO show. Something about It Happened One Night. Or where he's an innocent guy and he has a sexual encounter with a woman, and somehow she's stabbed up while he's out because she gives him some kind of drug.
It's worth
That's why you say no to drugs. So you go see it.
And he's also a rapper.
Yeah, that's right. He started out an MC.
Right.
And from there they picked him out, and then they put him in the HBO mini short series, and he's been blowing up from there.
Since then. Yeah, and he plays the scientist in the film.
All right, who is the villain?
The villain. So
but
the acting was good.
But the reason why he's doing what he's doing appears to be, if you look at it, noble.
Right.
Right. And it had me questioning in the film, why are they? I mean, certain people are lost. When you go throughout history, things happen, but it's the extent in which people are lost which becomes the critical factor in which moves him from being someone who is innovating and trying to push something positive into becoming a fanatic for what he wants to do, and thus turning evil in the process.
You know, when this film, Venom, what I loved about this Marvel film, because this up there with, Panther is number one. I love Panther. But Venom has to be number, 2, because, even to me, I like Venom better than the Avenger film. So, but Tom Hardy did an excellent job. I knew the film was going to be good because he's a good actor. And whatever movie you see him in is a good movie. So he doesn't just grab any script, right? So, but the thing is, Venom reminded me of Hanson, that Will Smith superhero movie. Mm-hmm. And I love Hanson because of
Hancock.
Hancock, thank you.
Right.
I'm thinking of
the Hanson, the brothers. I was like, what is this?
Hancock. And what I love about that film, and I've been waiting for a part 2. And I don't understand why there hasn't been a part 2 for Hancock, because the movie did extremely well in the box office. But anyway, just like in Hancock, Tom Hardy's character, everyday guy, just, and he superhero. And I love how Venom is just, he's hilarious. It's like some of the stuff he says, that comes out of his mouth.
Let's explain this before you go further. Let's explain it. Right. Venom begins after something happens, and he's basically absorbed into the Hardy character.
Right. His character's name was Eddie Brock. Now Eddie Brock was he's nice, he's cool, he's fine, but Venom is off the chain.
See, what it is he's kind-hearted.
Right.
The Eddie Brock character.
Right.
And when he's absorbed in,
right, when Venom,
he starts out as a voice in his head. You've seen that in the trailer, so that's no spoiler.
Right.
He starts out as a voice in his head,
right,
and he's the nice one,
right,
and Venom is the
hilarious.
I'm gonna
Off the
F you
chain.
up. You know what I'm saying? Off
Def
the chain.
Comedy Jam.
Yeah. He's definitely.
He on some rah-rah.
And he's on rah-rah. So that's what that is. So continue on now. We have to let people know that there's like a split personality type thing, like a Gemini thing going on here.
Yeah.
So that's what, when she's saying that Venom is talking,
right,
that's what we're talking about.
And that's what I love about the film. Like, it just kind of reminded me of Hancock a little. How Will Smith was just like, he said what was on his mind. He was a superhero, but he didn't hold back. And that's what I like about Venom. Mm-hmm. You know, his character.
And you know what's interesting is, unlike the modern day Incredible Hulk, where it's more based on the very first one, he was leaping across large swaths of land, getting to where he was going. So it was really based on the CGI and the special effects and all that. This film reminds me of the TV series The Incredible Hulk,
right,
where Bill Bixby played the Hulk. He played in regret.
right,
He played in how can I say? He plays in turmoil, inner turmoil, because he knows that this creature can come out of him and do damage to people that he has no control of.
Yeah.
The modern day Hulk, even the later one with, because first they had a dude from American X playing it.
Oh yeah, they did, and then Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah. Now he's playing it.
Right.
He doesn't play. He plays it more as a detached, mentally disturbed character. Right. He doesn't play it as someone who would have necessarily remorse or inner conflict with it. So he plays the Incredible Hulk a little bit different. However, I believe that Tom Hardy took a page from out of Bill Bixby's portrayal of Incredible Hulk to play the conflict that's in Eddie's mind. Eddie Brock's mind. Right. He's playing that character like that. So the acting, I say all that to say that the acting is elevated. Even the conversation between the fiance after the big gloom situation happens at the beginning of the film, and after that happens, the conversation between the two, and how she still feels something, but she has moved on. It's all really, and that's the first time I ever saw that in a Marvel's film was in Panther. Yeah, that's the first time when I saw the acting. You saw the love interest between the king and his royal subject, because she's of royalty too, and that whole conflict between male and female of love, but you know they have to play their respective roles still. That's what's happening in here. So a lot of the writing is taking pages from out of what Panther did, and which is elevated. I wouldn't
be surprised if maybe it was some of the same writers as Marvel, right? So.
Well, you know, Ryan Coogler wrote Panther from Creed. Okay. Right, so he wrote it. So I didn't see his name up there on the thing, but they are borrowing, like, you know, sometimes they do.
Like, you know how you had a main writer, but then when you go in the writer's room, also you
there's somebody who has contributed who doesn't.
People. So it could have been one of the many writers from off the other project.
Right. That's true. So. You know, but they only listed 4. But, you know, that's fine. But you know how that is. And like Dick Wolf.
Ghostwriters.
Dick Wolf, his stuff is still coming out. And Dick Wolf passed, right? But he's got a new show coming out on CBS. And so, obviously, it was something he sanctioned and he had his writers. But everything was Dick Wolf. I said, how did Dick Wolf write 3, 4, 5, 6 things at once, without, but his name was on it, but
all
he had
the
a
same
writing
day.
thing. No, all the same day, coming on the same day, different channels. But anyway, so it is well worth seeing. Again, the CGI, the special effects, the storyline, well flushed out story. You see the Brock character a little bit cowardice in some aspects.
Well, see, that's what you said in the movie. I just thought it was a reserved person.
Well, I think
because you can't go around being like Cardi B, taking your shoes and throwing the shoes at people.
The views expressed.
You can't be like that. You have to be grown up and deal with issues as adults.
Okay.
Not like children. This is not daycare or kindergarten.
Let's talk about Cardi B for a minute and
let's
Nicki
not
Minaj.
Happily ever after.
No. We have to talk about that real quick because you brought it up, so we have to touch it for a little bit.
I was just talking about maturity.
I know, but we have to touch it for a little bit. Listen, there is not equal blame in what happened at that fashion event between Nicki Minaj and Cardi B. There's not equal. So many people, when we were listening to that was like 4 or 5 weeks ago, and we were listening to that, and all the people were giving equal culpability, and there wasn't. Nicki Minaj was back by the wall. Her people put her back by the wall. She did not try to lunge at the girl after she threw the shoe.
She was doing interviews.
So she was doing, and so
there is
not equal culpability for that whatsoever. No way, shape, or form. But every time they say the fight between Nicki Minaj, I always put her name first, Nicki Minaj, and talk is what it is. Talk is what it is. If I remember, good parenting always told you, if somebody talks about you, you don't put your hands on them, but they put your hands on you, then you take care of them. That's what good parenting said. It doesn't say just because you don't like what someone says that you're going to put your hands on them, or hands on them because you don't like what they say.
Yeah, because if that's the case, we'll all walk around fighting every day. You be in a Rite Aid and the cashier is rude and you haul off and slap her. You be in trouble. So we can't just go around throwing shoes and slapping people.
Yeah, we just can't do that. We just can't do that. No. So, so we had to touch on that for a minute because it brought that up about culpability. So, let's see, what would you rate Venom?
It's going to get a 10.
Yeah. I have to give it a 10
so far.
It's a 10. The action, the fight scenes, how he discovers that he has this extra ability before the voice starts to speak to him. It's good. It's just really great. Go see this film, Venom. Go see it.
Netflix.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. It's one thing that I wanted to talk about. There's only one thing, and we have to get, political, socially conscious, cultural here for a minute. The only thing in the film, in the writing, and I had spoke on this earlier, but I didn't mention that, so I will bring it up later after we went through the accolades of the film. You need to see the film. However, there's certain imagery in the film that can be damaging to the melanated mind.
Which film?
In Venom. There's scenage in the film.
Because Venom is kicking butt and he's black.
Venom is kicking butt, but he's black. But however, he's black from another planet. Maybe he is black. Maybe that's us as we morphed on and became super intelligible people. Super intelligible beings. But in the film, there's a black person who is not ingest, but it swallows up or enters into the black person's body, and at first the black person is taking it, but then in the end the black person is failing. What you find out about these aliens that come from a different planet is that they because once they absorb into you or absorb into a person, the organs begin to fail because what they were calling them parasites chooses not to heal the host,
But
and chooses to eat.
when
Yeah,
you see
but
it.
I have to give that.
Right.
You would do that. So the black person, I have to give this because it's a psychological
No,
game.
it's not. I
Yes,
didn't
it
even
is.
notice it.
Yes, I know it didn't. It just goes into it just goes in and goes
Because
into
the same
the
thing happened
subconscious.
to the previous person.
No, wait now. But this is where it's different, and this is where the mad scientist says this. They show the black person, he's failing, his bodily organs are failing on the equipment,
right.
and he's sweating and he's failing, and the scientist says this: the human so defective, something like that, so defective in design, so inferior in design, the human. That is purposely put in the film because human means man of hue, color.
See, now,
that was put into the film, and that's the way it is. And we can disagree on it, but I just have to tell you, make sure that you're conscious of it, so you wipe it out of your subconscious once you see it. Because certain things are put in films and they go into your eye gate and they go back and they sit in your subconscious.
Yeah,
and then wait a minute.
On.
The conscious people, but we're talking about the unconscious
people. But the
people.
unconscious is unconscious. They don't catch on to nothing anyway.
Some of the conscious people wouldn't catch it because there's a lot of conscious people who like Marvel comics, and what I'm saying to you is when they put that in there, it sits in your subconscious, and then you believe that you wouldn't be able to host that, but this particular guy who is European American and the guy who is Indian, now Indian American by green card, I would guess, could host these things, but a black man who is actually genetically strongest on the planet could not host it. So you have to get that and pop that out your mind and just enjoy the film. I have to bring that to you because that's what this podcast is about bringing you those things that seem innocent in film but pushes that same stereotypical nonsense. So we have to bring that to you. So now,
Nappily Ever After, starring Sanaa Lathan.
All right, so look, this is a Netflix presentation. It's a Netflix presentation. And let me do this real quick, people. I know that's unprofessional, but we're gonna just keep it. There we go. There, backhanded. Okay. So straighten that. Okay, so here we go. So Nappily Ever After. Okay, so we open up with a successful sister. She's successful doing her work. She's engaged to a soon-to-be doctor. He's still a resident. And everything seems to be fine. But she is obsessed with her hair. Not just her natural hair, but her natural hair turned straight through straightening comb. That's right. That's this film. So she is obsessed with her hair so much that when her and the man are in love situations, he cannot put his hands in her hair. Now she doesn't have a weave. She has straightened hair. So we already said who the lead character is already. So go ahead, let's give your perspective on it. So I kind of set that up. So she's successful, and then something happens, and you don't really know why it happened.
Yeah, I don't want to forget.
Okay, go ahead.
This book is based on. This film is based on a book by author Trisha R. Thompson, and so I remember reading about. In Essence magazine, they have a section and they review books. So I remember reading a review about this book like years ago. So I was excited when I heard that they were going to turn the book into a film. And when I found out that Sanaa Lathan, was going to be in it, I was happy because I knew she would do a good job. And they did do a good job.
Right.
Her and Lynn Whitfield is also.
Lynn Whitfield. And you know, if you don't watch Greenleaf, I don't know what you're doing. If you're not watching Greenleaf on OWN, you're not watching Queen Sugar on OWN.
Right.
I don't know what you're doing. I mean, you're really missing out on some great television. Because you can switch right from that. You can switch right over there to Empire and then to Star.
Yeah, and then move over to OWN
and watch that, you know.
But the cast in the movie Nappily Ever After. Well, you know, Sanaa Lathan, Ernie Hudson, Lynn Whitfield, Ricky Whittle. Ricky Whittle is from the show American Gods, which is an excellent show.
Wait a minute.
Waiting for season 2
We're
to start.
waiting for season 2, but however, you know what?
Before we get into that, and Lyric Bennett, he's also in the film.
Mm-hmm.
So
let me tell you, American Gods. We're gonna just move off a little bit, you know. Right. So we gotta let you know, if you have not seen the first season of American Gods, that's on Stars, correct?
Yeah.
You need to go and binge. Sit there, get your popcorn, your favorite drink, sit in front of your widescreen TV, whatever size it is, and sit there and watch this series. Okay. Watch these episodes. I think it's
the writing is
the writing was excellent.
Yeah, right? They have new writers.
But they have new writers. But from reported from the Hollywood Reporter, right. If you get that feed, they said that they had to fire the new writers. Mm-hmm. They had to relieve them of duty because they weren't making deadlines or such. But the previous writers, though they were two European American.
We assumed they were black.
Yeah, there were two European American men. The stories based on the black experience in America, it was a conscious piece of storytelling in with this, and here it is. All of a sudden, the people who were in head of Star Wars all of a sudden didn't want them to go too far, because they had some things in there that me and my wife would look at each other like,
wow,
did they really put that? Did they really put that in there? Like, I mean, this is some real deep stuff. You know, nothing is really deep because, you know, Father Divine, the Nation of Islam, all the different people who were on the corners in the 20s and the 30s have pushed all this information through. We're the only ones who have not, a majority of us have not grasped the information to use it for our betterment, but others will take the information and use it for their betterment, like these two European American writers who took it and incorporated it into American Gods, along
with other writers, because I'm sure there had to be some black writers.
But I'm just saying they were knowledgeable enough, because that knowledge has been out there, to put it into American Gods. And somewhere along the way, the people who are the money people said, well, we don't want this information out to the masses. To the masses, just like how they cut Underground, because it was pushing an unadulterated opinion coming from a black conscious point of view being put across, and they said we do not need to push this out to the masses.
And John Legend, he was the executive
producer. Right. So I believe that is why they fired their original writers, because they probably read the scripts and said, well, you're going a little bit too far with this black consciousness here in this. So we're probably going to have to bring in some writers to do some buffoonery. But wouldn't it be just like that, because the seventh seal is lifted, that the ones that were going to put the buffoonery in, they couldn't meet deadline, and so they had to cut them, which the guy who plays, we don't know if he's the devil or whatnot. It's like devil and God,
Right.
you know, but it's all gods though,
Yeah.
because God, depending on some people, the devil is God to some people, and God is God to other people, and so it's how you do it. But
We have
this
to go
is
back to Nappily Ever After.
I know I'm going back. Let me finish this. So this is why. So this is why the main actor who plays the devilish type character, he's like on the last.
Yeah, he's getting.
I mean,
older.
he's getting older, and he's
Yeah.
on the last.
Yeah.
The actor who is playing in Nappily Ever After,
Yeah.
he's just beginning,
Right.
and he can act.
Yeah,
because
Ricky Whittle.
that's right. Because watching him in American Gods and then
Right.
seeing him play this character, he can easily move from different characters and not be typecast.
Right.
When they cast him in this film, they purposely did it, I believe, to give him a shot to show something else.
Yeah.
Because once you come into a high-powered series like American Gods,
Right.
you can be typecast, and they will say, "Well, you can't do anything like that." Like kind of like what they did to the guy who played Urkel.
Oh,
They
yeah.
kind of held him back and said, "Well, he can't play anything else," and that's
Jaleel.
not true.
Yeah.
Jaleel White, you cannot. That is not true.
Right.
That is not true, especially for black actors. So we cannot believe that because people turn it on all the time. So
Yeah.
he stars in this film as the love interest with
Right.
Sanaa Lathan. Now we're back to Nappily Ever After.
Oh, and then her other love interest, Lyric Bennett, is from Spike Lee. She's Got to Have It on Netflix. So
Yeah, that's right. If you have not seen She's Got to Have It,
First
season,
season.
you need to sit there and watch. You need to go there and get your popcorn again and binge watch these episodes. Excellent writing from Spike Lee, brought it to contemporary times and moving it forward. So, what's interesting about Nappily Ever After is it is speaking and talking about a group of people who could be what they call boule, right?
yeah,
People who are in Jack and Jill,
Right.
people who are comfortable in not rocking the boat and comfortable trying to fit into white society.
right,
And the hair is one of the most important pieces as far as why they do what they do as far as the hair. The mother in particular is very particular about her daughter having this straight hair
right,
and doing it through straightening comb.
right.
But something happens and rain comes and the hair turns to frizz, and then that is the initiating
That kicks
event,
off
and then
the-
that just
right.
kicks everything off.
Right.
And from there she
Right.
goes. She's got to go. Her mother's not available, so she has to go to a shop to
Yeah,
get
so
with a
we're not gonna
beautician.
tell the story,
And I'm
though.
just saying that just go to a
tell the story.
beautician that she doesn't
But
know,
that's what it's
and that's
saying.
where the story kicks off. And
right.
then a little girl is introduced,
Right.
And the guy from who's the father from what show is that? From Spike Lee, She's Got to Have It.
Okay, Lyric Bennett.
Lyric Bennett is introduced, and the story flows from there.
Excellent. I think
Go ahead.
the writing is really good because it introduces you. Seeing the film makes me want to go get the book and read the book, because of course the book always goes into more detail, right? Because they have to take all that information and combine it into 2-hour or less film.
Right.
But they did a good job introducing you to her character, and you kind of like the transition that she goes through with her hair. I think like all women could relate to. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, Asian, Latino, whatever. Just dealing with different hairstyles, just the process, but as a black woman, I really could relate, and it's certain. I mean, it was a good movie. It was a fun movie. Sanaa Lathan did an excellent job.
And her steps
Right.
from I will call it underdevelopment as far as her hair
Right.
into development of her hair are
Right.
broken up, kind of like Pulp Fiction.
Right.
Each set is broke up with a title board that introduces you to the progression in her development.
Right.
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 And in the end, not only, which is a feminist note put into the piece, where she moves on and doesn't necessarily need a man, because the man was wrapped around in hair, and you'll see how she navigates through that and who she winds up with in the end.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So she has a epiphany within the piece that she doesn't need a man. It has to do. So that's the feminist slant within the film, and then you find out who she ends up with in the end. So that's what we'll say about that.
It reminded me of that song by what's her name, India Ari, that I Am Not My Hair.
Right.
Because of the different transitions that she, and then the end, it doesn't matter, natural hair, straight hair, blonde hair, brown hair, if you want to put purple or orange in it. That's the fun thing about being a girl. You can do whatever you want with your hair.
I have a slight observation about I Am Not My Hair, India Irie. Not about her in particular, but I remember when Erykah Badu was wearing the locks. She was wearing locks. And when Erykah Badu freed herself of her locks, which is a purification situation, there were people who were in the black community who were, I would call them bohemian and into that natural situation, said, she cut off her hair, she's fake, she's phony. People put a lot into hair, no matter if it's straight, weave, or bald, or locked. They put a lot of value into that, instead of saying people have different transitions in their life, and there's also purification. Like when my mother passed, I cut all my hair off. You know what I'm saying? Because there is a spiritual belief that your hair holds what you have been through, and to purify, you do that, and you don't worry about if it grows back or not. You just go through, and so that was a purification process for me, and so that's what you do, and you keep moving on, and you do what you do, and don't value your hair to that point, and that's what it is, and that's a battle between boule, non-boule, good hair, bad hair, all that, which we talked about in the original Black Ice. Right? So, so what would you rate Nappily Ever After?
You know what? I would have to give it a 10. I'm just giving it. I mean, because we've seen some good films.
We've seen some good things. I have to give it a 10 to the storyline, the way, the through line of the story, the way that she arcs within the film,
and she really arcs her character. She really arcs
in the film, and she just becomes truly independent.
She does,
and so that's very important. So go to Netflix and watch this film. You will not be disappointed. Now, we've been watching a lot of Netflix films, but another one that stands out to us is Quincy. There was Quincy Jones back in '95. He had Back on the Block. He had the documentary. Well, this picks up with some of that, but it takes you way further into now. We're into 2014 through 2017. And he takes you beyond talking about the Back on the Block. The documentary talked about his early life, and it talked about the making of the album. And he said he was back on the block, and that's what that dealt with. That was this deals with Back on the Block. It also deals with the in-between when he was a jazz musician. It moves into him becoming a scorer of a film. And
Michael Jackson.
And Michael Jackson goes into him working with Michael. Back on the Block, is mentioned, but it really goes through the through line. It talks about his mom, talks about his pops, and it really gets to
his relationships with his wives and children,
but it really gets to something that anyone who is conscious and really thinking about it, that age is a MF.
Yeah.
Getting older is an MF, and this is what it is. So you open up with Quincy Jones now. And as different situations happen within his now time, it gives him a chance to look back, and thus the person who edited it takes you back to those times, and it's beautifully told.
Yeah. His daughter Rashida Jones did the documentary.
Okay,
she did an excellent job.
That's right, and you know that his son is QD3, and he had those beef DVDs back in the '90s. So you know, talent abounds in his family.
Yeah.
So it flashes back and it takes you back, and then it comes forward. Right. Then the initiating event in the piece, which lets you know, is he's not feeling well.
Yeah.
And that's where it all kicks off.
Right.
And it becomes then, it appears to me in the film to be an urgency to get everything done.
Yeah.
To complete everything, to be involved in situations that will advance, like he's done all of his life, advance black people. The word black comes out of Quincy Jones' mouth, though before, after his very first wife, which was a high school sweetheart, every woman he's had ever since then has been European or European American. Okay, but the term black comes out of his mouth. He is about black advances, black cause, black, not necessarily superiority, but black advancement, and that's what he's about, and that's what comes out of his mouth, and that's what Quincy Jones is about. Beautifully shot.
Music is great, of course. Quincy Jones.
Yeah. The beautifully shot music is great. You see him. You see the hills and valleys. Count Basie told him that worry about the valleys, because the hills will take care of themselves. And so there's hills and valleys in life. Like there's hills and valleys in a career spanning from his time, from the 30s all the way up to today. There's hills and valleys, but it's the time when you're up that you take care of it, so that when you come down, you still can sustain yourself. And that's a lesson in the film that is not missed. So definitely see this film. So, you know, if anyone who is in a mind state that there's nothing good going on as far as black folks and entertainment, there always has been, but this period right here that we're going through, not unlike the 90s where it was film and we had some TV, now it's TV and film, Netflix, Hulu, all these different networks where we are seeing ourselves in these films. So I mean, this is a renaissance. This is like, you know, like the Renaissance, like the Harlem Renaissance. This, now we're living through another Renaissance, and don't miss this, because you will be missing it for sure. So what do you rate it?
I'll have to give it a 10.
Oh, we've been giving 10s all,
because they've been really good films, and what I love about it is I was able to learn a lot about Quincy Jones. I mean, they show pictures of him from when he was a child, an infant, all the way to adulthood. Just the music, and just learning where his mind was, while working on each project. It told a story of its own, and just, the introduction to his family, and just 10. It's just excellent. It was just well done. Like you said, the cinematography was great.
And a lot of it was done on camcorder.
Yep.
Handycam.
Yeah.
Probably Sony.
Yeah. Because his daughter, it opened up with the daughter on the camera in the car.
Yeah,
talking
in the
to her
car.
dad. Right.
And then it kicks off for that. So yeah, I give it a 10. The storyline, the way that they flashed back and brought it forward, everything meshed with the topic subtopics. You know, everything in there is beautiful.
You learn a lot. Like, I didn't know he worked with Dinah Washington.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing of who he has worked with that people dismiss because, of course, they're gone.
Right.
And
Frank
then
Sinatra.
He also laments with Billy Dee Williams. Billy Dee Williams in the film, he laments, along with Herbie Hancock that so many people are just dropping off and leaving. And then, you know, that's the whole thing about getting older and you see your contemporaries leave and you see people in your age group leave, you see people that's not in your age group leave, and as you get older, you know you're marching towards that inevitability of the end.
Yeah, because when he mentioned Michael, when he was just naming all of his friends and, you know, people who had passed away. Yeah. And then, you know, he was just like, and Michael, you know, I outlived Michael. You know?
And he said Prince. He mentioned Prince too. So it's well worth it. Also, you get to see the behind the scenes because he was the music and production coordinator for the African American Museum, the Smithsonian African American Museum in DC.
You're able to see a little bit of the museum.
Yeah.
So,
and you get to see him again. It's a looking back and knowing that you have more years behind you than you have in front of you, and that's what when people get to a certain age, that's why, like myself, I'm 47. I know that there's more time behind me than there is in front of me. So I don't play when I work with people. I make sure I get things done. You know what I'm saying? And leave a legacy behind. That's what it's about, because there's no time to play. Of course, I always thought that way, even when I was in my teens and my 20s. I always believed that way. Not felt, I believed that way, and always worked to leave something behind, so you can see my stuff on iTunes, on Tidal, on all that, and that's what I do. So it's just a beautiful piece all together. We just can't rave on it enough. Make sure you go to Netflix, watch that. So now let me sit up for this, because this is Miles Morales. I don't know how a character that was based on Barack Obama and
Donald Glover
could have Miles Morales as a name, but you know, of course, we were here first, so thus we would have had those names, right? So Miles Morales is the first black Spiderman. And the film is coming out December 14th by what is reported. But we saw the trailer. And let me tell you something. This is got to be. This might edge out as an animated feature. It may edge out Venom. And it may be Panther, this, and then Venom. It is very, very entertaining,
hilarious.
It introduces you to Miles Morales, whose father is a police officer.
If you go see Venom, or
you're gonna see the trailer. So this is not.
Show you
this is not. This
trailer
is not
like after the movie. So when
wait.
Well, when at the beginning you see a trailer, but then with all the other film trailers, But when the movie Venom goes off, you see they show you more of the new Spider-Man. So make sure you stay.
Let's talk about
after
that.
the credits.
All right. Let's talk about that. His father's a police officer, and he is definitely being reared and raised by his father, right? And his father wants him to stay a grounded young man. And what happens is that you're introduced and you find out that the name of the movie is Spider-Man Into the Spider Universe, right? Or in the Spider Universe, Into the Spider Universe, or in the Spider Universe. And you are introduced through some kind of kaleidoscope type of meshing of different dimensions. You are introduced to various different Spider-Men, and Spider-Women. I would say a Spider-Woman and different Spider-Men. You even have Porky the Pig. But anyway, so we'll leave it like that. So you see the trailer. But this is a entertaining romp. Just from the trailer alone, it's gonna be a blockbuster. It is worth seeing. And then at the end,
the true introduction.
Is
after Venom.
Is after Venom. So you sit there, and meanwhile, in another dimension, and you're introduced to this, and I tell you that you will be on the edge of your seat during this. I can't even call it a trailer. It's like it gives you a 5-minute piece of the film.
Yeah, so that's why
it's more than a trailer.
Because at the beginning of, you see the trailer before the movie comes on, right? Along with multiple other films that are coming out, right? But then you watch the movie Venom, but then when the credits after they've ran, you're really introduced to Miles Morales.
It's more like
5 minutes.
It's more like a featurette.
That's
it's more like it's something that would usually come before, but it's a featurette. It's at the end,
so
and you're sitting there, and you are totally on the edge of your seat.
People are cracking up, laughing.
However, I have to put this in so that people will be aware, and then let this go into your zeitgeist, and your sight gate, and go back and not let it be a zeitgeist locked into your subconscious. Now you remember Peter Parker was a teen too, and he was able to figure out all of his situation without help of anyone. He doesn't get to help until he's introduced to Iron Man, who then gives him this suit with the everything. But other than that, he figures all this out himself. He figures out his web slingers and all that all himself. He figures out his uniform all himself. But in this one, from the trailer, it appears that the Peter Parker character, now somewhat in his 30s, because this is different dimensions coming together, somewhat in the 30s, he is teaching Miles Morales how to really be Spiderman, right? And again, that is an example of them writing into scripts that black people cannot do it without the help of a European, and that's just what they're putting in the script. I can't help that that's the way it is. And also another thing is, we used to have this this person who was big in the community. His name was Ken Ferguson, and he held all of the uniforms and all the outfits for parties, for parties, and he's probably still doing it. He's still big, owns his own building in Cleveland, Ohio.
When did we have one for Kayla's party?
We had one. Yeah, it was Barney. Okay, but we would just say that Barney didn't exactly look like Barney, and so we'll leave it like that. And you know how that is. So the kid's Spider-Man outfit looks more like a Halloween costume. And it kind of reminded us of our nephew wearing the Halloween costume. And this is how they are setting this up in this other dimension. That somehow, the Spider-Man got his eyes cut out so he can see through the uniform. And it's more like a Halloween costume than it is someone being able to work through it and create their own uniform. And so I say I have to put those two interesting elements that they are putting into this film to say to black people that you cannot, because it's not harmless. This is not harm. This is put in the film purposely, and you should not doubt that at all. So when you see it, you see it and you brush it off, because we know there's plenty of history where we were teaching Europeans and European Americans how to do it. They brought us here because we were the skilled artisans. We were the skilled planters. We were the ones who came with all of the different beans to plant. We were the ones who did that. And that's why they brought us here, not just because of our labor, but because we knew how to build things. And if you doubt that, look at how the infrastructure is falling apart now, because they have purposely kept black people out of being the ones who design as well as build things. And that's why the infrastructure, when you go back and research about the infrastructure, you find out though they put European Americans in the front on the pictures, when you go back, you see it was black building it. So anyway, so we'll leave that right there. So from the trailer, what can you say about the film? We can't really rate it, but from the trailer, what can you say about it?
When I saw the trailer, the first thing I thought was, this is going to be a nice animated cartoon. I thought about my little nephew and how he's going to love it, because he loves Black Panther, and like my niece is playing it over and over and over. She said on Fire Stick for him. He loves seeing it. So I do believe he's going to love this film, because he's going to see himself. He's going to see a young black boy as a superhero, and he's going to love it. And so I just thought it was just endearing. The humor, the relationship between him and his father. It's gonna be really good.
And they have him drawn. He's, when you come into your own as a teenager, 14, 15 years old, going to high school, you come into your own, and you come into that smooth moment. Yeah. They have him in that smooth moment. He's wearing the hair, which is a throwback to us, to the 80s, with what we call the high top fade, but it's a little different. It's more like the mushroom, like what they're doing now. And not mushroom, but more like the locks to God, as I like to call them. And then that's a throwback to what my father said back in the 40s and the 50s. They had that same hairstyle. So each people get that same hairstyle. So they have him in that smooth. He's coming into his own, and he's going to be a great character to move on, move the Spider-Man legacy on in his dimension. And I can't wait until they turn it into live film. Action.
Yeah, I can't either.
I can't. So they have some great people in there, but we're going to talk about all the people who are in the film, who are voicing the film when the film comes out, when we review it. So stay tuned for that. So anything in closing that you would like to say?
No.
We have had, what is this? 4 films and talking about one trailer. That's 5, baby, 5. This has been an extended the film review, movies, music, culture, and whatever else comes to mind. Brought to you by the Black Ice Chronicles, The Shifter. The Black Ice Chronicles, The Shifter. It is the first film that kicked it all off for me, that won curator's pick in Hollywood. It is showing on Vimeo right now. TBIC, The Black Ice Chronicles, The Shifter. It is horrifyingly hilarious. You will be entertained. The characters are well drawn out. It breaks up into before and after, and you will love this film. And it's
go ahead. It's an ensemble piece.
That's right. It's an ensemble piece.
It's hilarious. You get to know each of the characters. What I love about it is it's community, which that part, it really represents the community of the store, Crazy Dee's record store. So, which was a community, and like all of the people that came in the store, they're family, and you grew up seeing them, and you grew up seeing their children and their aunts and uncles and mothers and fathers. So and it's part of that is depicted in the film. So, and it's hilarious. The writing is great. The music is excellent.
That's right. I showed my auteur ability to create and sculpt scenes and using the music to tell the story. So it's $2.99. It's only $2.99 on Vimeo. $2.99, and it's especially for October because it's the shifter. It's
Halloween.
A shapeshifter that comes into Crazy Dee's life in his store on Halloween. And so it's very good. So this is brought to you by The Shifter, Black Ice Chronicles The Shifter, showing on Vimeo right now. I have the link on the replay. I have the link in the description,
which I will rate a 10 also. Just
yeah. We're gonna review some of my films, but that one right there, My People, Poison Ivy is in it. You see her, and then her character goes on into three other films. Right. You know, Shamika, she goes on to 3 other films, and so so this has been. And
Diana plays the Shifter.
That's right, Diana Gumarova. She was Russian, and she had a thick Russian brogue.
Right.
And I trained her linguistically how to say R words, without using the hard R that Russians have. I taught her how to, so she would sound more of an American character, though she would still have her accent as something that was foreign. Right. But I tightened her up, so it's a beautiful piece. Everyone came
through.
Great
film, diverse cast.
Yeah, and it was shot in the month of October, edited up and released on that
ready for Halloween
29th, that Saturday the 29th.
Right.
And it was pressed up into DVDs.
Right. And
all of them got copies to sell. Right. So, that's what we do. That's what we always did. But anyway, so this has been the film review. Movies, music, culture, and whatever else comes to our minds. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy Dee,
Tracey,
who review culture in film. See you next time.